Welcome to Farm Talk, where we look at issues that affect agriculture and ranching here in the natural state. Brought to you by Heritage Agriculture. Here is your host, Mike Linton.
Welcome to Arkansas Farm Talk. I'm your host, Mike Linton. My guest today is Mr. Keith Glover, President of Producers Rice Mill, and Mr. Jay Coker, Chairman of the Board, Producers Rice Mill. Guys, welcome back to Arkansas Farm Talk.
Well, thank you, Mike. It's good to be here.
Yeah, appreciate y'all being here. All right, Mr. Keith, tell us what's going on with Producers Rice Mill.
Well, Producers Rice Mill, we're a farmer-owned cooperative. We were formed in 1943.
Yeah.
And as you know, this time of the year, we're in the full swing of harvest. So it's been very busy over the last couple of months.
To say the least.
Yes.
Yeah, to say the least. Okay, Jay, how many farmers are members of Producers Rice Mill?
Currently, we have about 2,200 farmer members.
That's 2,200?
2,200
Wow,
farmer
that's
members
impressive.
basically those are farm families that are members of Producers Rice Mill, spread out predominantly Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Boot Hill, Missouri, and then other places around the United States.
I got you. Everywhere that grows rice. You know, rice
Just
is number
about.
one in the state of Arkansas, right?
That's right. That's correct.
You know, Keith, what states, you hit on it, but what states does Producers receive rice from?
Okay. Well,
Okay, I know Jay just hit on it a little bit.
Sure. And naturally, we were formed here in Arkansas.
Sure.
So Arkansas, as you just mentioned, is the #1 rice-producing state in the country, with
Yep.
roughly half of the United States rice grown in this state. So obviously, Arkansas is our biggest state. Our second biggest state is Mississippi. And then we have growers in northeast Louisiana, and we have a handful in southeast Missouri.
Okay, so a lot of rice comes into the state, not just grown in the state, right?
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah. Keith, what are Producers' annual sales and the annual bushels received and milled?
Okay, that's a good question. Typically, we receive and handle about 60 to 65 million bushels a year.
Wow.
We just completed our last fiscal year a couple months ago, and our annual sales will be right at $600 million.
$600 million?
Yes.
That's super impressive.
A lot of rice.
Well, that says a lot about Producers Rice Mill, the quality of the company and the people that run it. That says a whole lot about it, because people entrust their future with Producers Rice Mill. That says a lot.
Yeah,
you know.
thank you.
Jay, where are all the Producer Rice Mill locations, the dryer locations and the mills?
Okay, so
I know I'm asking y'all a lot of crazy questions, but anyway, just spitballing here.
well,
but anyway.
you know, naturally the locations, the drying locations, receiving points are located kind of strategically throughout the rice growing areas of Arkansas and Mississippi. So we start out kind of in the Grand Prairie. We have that's dry rice receiving location. We have Stuttgart. We have 2 facilities in DeWitt and Dixie. We have Pine Bluff. We go for the southeastern part of the state, and we have Wilmot and Eudora. Then we handle kind of the central part of the state, which would be Wynn and Fair Oaks. And then we go a little further up to the northeast, and we get Tyronza and Wilson. Those are the dry rice receiving points. We have 2 mills in Stuttgart that do parboil and white rice, milled rice, and we have a mill in Greenville, Mississippi that does the same.
Okay. So Producers, I mean, is spread out big time, right?
Correct.
Yeah, up and down, you know, the eastern part of this Arkansas and into Mississippi.
Well, I mean, and that's to better serve the rice growers in the state of Arkansas. That's why, you know. So it'd be real easy just to have one mill sitting somewhere, but you know, that's makes it a lot more harder for all the producers. So the way Producers has it set up around the state, it just makes it a lot easier for the rice producers to take their product there.
Yeah, and if you look at our history, we have grown where the rice areas have grown. So as you know, back in the 40s and 50s, the rice growing area in Arkansas was primarily in the Grand Prairie.
Yeah.
But in the 70s, when they lifted the rice allotments and more people could grow rice, especially in northeast Arkansas, Producers Rice Mill grew in those areas.
Yeah, well, it's impressive. Keith, where is our rice sold domestically and internationally?
okay, as a country, approximately 60% of the U.S. long grain crop is sold right here in the United States. So
Really?
that's really great.
Okay, I thought most of it went out, but anyway.
And then about 40% is exported. Now the good news about our exports is last fiscal year, 96% of the U.S. long grain exports stayed right here in the Western Hemisphere. So we're talking about selling rice to our neighbors like Canada, Mexico, many of the countries in the Caribbean, Central America, Colombia, Venezuela. So it's great that we have most of rice being sold and consumed here in the United States, but when we do export rice, we're selling it to our neighbors.
Yeah.
And that's really good.
Yeah. Is Mexico #1? Or?
It is.
Okay. I've been told that before. I just wanted to double check that. And
that is correct.
Okay.
Our industry typically exports about 800,000 metric tons a year to Mexico. And the amazing story about Mexico, we believe that all came about because of NAFTA.
Yeah.
And that's the North American Free Trade Agreement with Canada, U.S., and Mexico. And prior to that, we were only exporting about 100,000 a year, and now we're doing as much as 800,000 metric tons a year.
Wow, very impressive. Jay, what are some of the challenges of this year's growing season?
Well,
I know that's a wide open question, man.
Well,
but
it
anyway.
can involve a lot of things,
Sure.
whether it's, COVID challenges, employment issues, having a stable workforce, all the things that all the other businesses have had to deal with. We have to do that as individual farmers and at producers as well. But then we get into weather issues.
Yeah.
We get into a
Can't
lot
control
of
that.
You can't control
Can't
the weather,
control that.
and we seem to have a lot more unusual weather events that occur. Heavier rains, longer durations, higher nighttime temperatures, record cold weather, Memorial Day weekend. Just the weather challenges are probably some of the biggest obstacles that we face because they are unknown and a lot of times unexpected.
Yeah. Well, I know you're chairman of the board for producers, and you're not going to sit there and blow your own horn, but I know Keith will agree with me. You're one of our great rice producers in Arkansas County. We appreciate you and your team and everything that you do. We've got a lot of great growers and farmers here in the natural state.
We're very fortunate. The state of farming and the state of rice production, the producers are the best in the United States
Best in the
by
game,
far.
man. The best in the game, and that's what we say over and over. Guys, hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Tell us we can't, and we'll prove you wrong. Knock us down, and we'll get right back up. Call us risk takers, misfits, bad boys. But we know what we want, and it feels like American muscle, looks like advanced engineering, and smells like fresh, cut grass. Bad boy, mow with an attitude.
As a farmer, your work is built on a promise to the land and your community. At Farm Bureau, we understand the needs of farmers and ranchers. Protecting your way of life is our mission. We've created an insurance policy that protects everything farmers rely on. We call it Ag Promise. It's a pledge that hasn't changed in more than 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Call your Farm Bureau agent today.
This way of life demands well-built equipment, proven and adaptable tractors that can change with the job, hay tools born from the strength of our 100-year legacy, durable sidekick utility vehicles that cover more ground at speeds up to 40 miles per hour, and comfortable, productive SSV skid steers. For all your farming needs, Kubota equipment is built right, built ready. Visit your local dealer today.
Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whenever you want. In your life and on your farm, Case IH AFS Connect gives you more control. Monitor your operation, manage your fleet and your farm data your way. Case IH, rethink productivity.
Since 1921, we've been supporting rice farmers across America. These are the farmers who own our co-op, who prosper together, striving to do more for their communities, going deeper, working smarter, growing stronger. That's how we make good even better. That good comes from the time and toil they're passing down of a way of life that supports not only their families, but families all over the world. So the world can be served with great food. Riceland. United, we grow.
Every farm operation has diverse tillage needs. Let the knowledgeable staff at Heritage Agriculture of Arkansas show you the Great Plains tillage lineup, one of the most diverse in the industry. Whether you're looking for vertical, conventional, or a hybrid tool in between, Great Plains is known for durable, dependable tillage equipment like the Turbo Max, Lister Cultivator, Velocity, and more. Find your perfect fit at one of our 7 Heritage Ag locations today. Customer focused, customer driven, we want your business.
Welcome back to Arkansas Farm Talk. I've got Producers Rice Mill in the studio today. Okay, guys, Jay, we were talking about some of the challenges of the growing season this year. Tell me about this year's rice harvest. So far, how's it been from what you're hearing?
I would say so far rice harvest has gone very smooth. We got started within a normal
I wish we could knock on wood.
Yeah, no kidding. We got started in a normal time frame about the 3rd week of August, around the 22nd, the 25th, and that's kind of normal starting time. So we had a good August and most of the month of September with harvesting days straight through. Very little rainfall. We were fortunate that were 2 tropical storms and hurricanes that
we missed it.
Were forecast to come right up through our growing area, and they did not. So that was very, very helpful. It's been a lot of probably 3 years since we've had a harvest that we had more dry weather than what we've had wet weather like we had this year with the dry weather. Field conditions are good, so I think overall most farmers are pleased that they've had the days of being able to harvest like they've had so far.
And depending on where you were in the state, this spring, some were just wet, some were dry, begging for a rain. It was really just kind of crazy, but we've got the greatest farmers in the world, and they overcome all that stuff, and man, they've made some great crops.
There are some good crops. A lot of technology, some of the advances in equipment.
It's amazing. It
makes things that 4 or 5 years ago would have been a problem. They make it a little more manageable now.
Yeah. Keith, how were the field yields and the milling quality this year so far?
Okay. As far as field yields, the reports we're getting, talking to farmers and extension agents, they've been good to excellent. I've talked to numerous rice farmers that shared with me that this has been their best rice crop ever.
Really?
With regard to field yields. Now, the contradiction to this year's crop is that the milling yields, especially whole kernel milling yields, are down. And that doesn't make much sense because in general, there's an old adage that the weather that will produce good field yields also will produce good milling yields and vice versa. But that hadn't hold true this year. And in visiting with the extension people, they've got some ideas of what may have went wrong with the milling quality this year. If you recall, in late July and early August, we had about a 10-day stretch where the nighttime temperatures were high, over 75 degrees. The lows were over 75 degrees at night.
Yeah.
And rice needs to have a rest period. And if the temperatures at night stay above 75, the plant doesn't have a chance to shut down and rest. It just keeps trying to produce.
Yeah.
And that will end up hurting the milling quality. Also, we saw an increase in stink bugs this year.
Yeah, big time.
And another thing that's funny, you mentioned about the winter storms, and this past February we had the 1 in 100 year below zero winter storm, and I can remember hearing various people said, hey, that's going to take care of our bug problem this summer. Well, that wasn't the case.
Where'd they, I don't know. I don't know where they hid, but they came back.
Yeah, and the bugs, stink bugs, if they bite into a kernel before it's completely formed and firmed up, it will cause the kernel to be smaller and immature.
Yeah.
And I think that's hurt our milling yields as well. We've also had some heavy dews.
Yeah.
And also talking to the extension people, they think that re-wetting has caused some of the kernels to fissure. When the kernels try to reabsorb the moisture, kernels will fissure. So all in all, extension people think it's been a combination of all those things that has resulted in the lower milling yield. Now when I say lower milling yield, when you mill the rice, it's still very pretty. It's just that when you have 100 pounds of rough rice, last year when we milled 100 pounds of rough rice, we ended up with about 58 pounds of whole kernels.
Okay.
This year when we mill 100 pounds of rough rice, we end up with about 50 pounds of whole kernels. So the whole kernel numbers are down, but
Yeah.
when you mill it, it's still as pretty and white as it typically is.
I got you. Well, I mean, that was a question about the milling yields lower this year, you know. So, I mean, that answers a lot of it. Jay, year in and year out, what do you think the biggest challenges facing our rice growers are? You being a rice grower yourself.
Well, we could start with any number of challenges that we're faced going forward. Naturally, access to labor.
Yes.
Even with all the advances in technology and equipment, it takes people, and we still have to have quality labor, have access to that type workforce. So that's something that we're keen on, and trying to figure out ways to address that. With logistics, we have some inputs that we're being told that may be in short supply coming forward. So access and acquiring our fertilizers, chemicals, seeds, those type things. Those are some of our short-term challenges for 2022. So we've got a multitude of questions that we have to answer within ourselves about going forward and how we're going to do it and how that's going to affect our operations.
Yeah. You hit on it. The biggest challenge is people, right? Getting workers. So, I mean, just to let you know, I'm starting a Heritage Agriculture High School Ag Committee. I've talked to 15 superintendents in our trade areas and going to work with the ag teachers. And then at least once a quarter, we're going to bring them in, bring the kids in, okay? And we're going to talk to them. I'll bring special guests in, like Secretary of Agriculture Wes Ward, or maybe the governor, maybe ask you guys to come speak a day, okay? And let's start educating our kids. Here's the thing that people don't know. We want to encourage every child to go to college, but in the state of Arkansas, 7 out of 10 kids don't go to college. We've got to teach these kids a trade. And being on the Farm Bureau board and talking to Farm Bureau members, we need to start, and other businesses, we need to start a mentoring program so we can bring kids in and talk to them, try to educate them on stuff instead of just sitting in a classroom, or maybe get them on the farm. Get them on the farm a little bit, work with some of your guys, and then that could turn into some internships, okay? So, and then that way, instead of them just sitting in a classroom thinking, hey, I want to farm, or I want to ranch, or I want to be a service technician, let them get their hands a little dirty, they'll figure it out real quick. I love this, or no, this isn't for me, and then we can work on something else, is what we're going to do. There's Heritage High School Ag Committee. Every superintendent that I've talked to, like I said, I've talked to 15, they're super excited about it.
Well, there's great opportunity for kids that want to stay local and learn a trade and get involved in technology and everything that's involved in farming.
Yeah, it's big time. Guys, hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
A lot goes into taking care of your property. You need equipment with more reliability, durability, and versatility built in, like #1 selling Kubota compact tractors that can do it all right, Z-Series mowers that deliver a quality cut, and the Sidekick utility vehicle built for hard work and fun at 40 miles per hour. Kubota equipment lives up to the highest standards. Yours. Visit your local dealer today.
As a farmer, your work is built on a promise to the land and your community. At Farm Bureau, we understand the needs of farmers and ranchers. Protecting your way of life is our mission. We've created an insurance policy that protects everything farmers rely on. We call it Ag Promise. It's a pledge that hasn't changed in more than 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Call your Farm Bureau agent today.
We all have our reasons for doing what we love. Personal reasons. Professional reasons. Big reasons. Little reasons. Sometimes, no reason at all. It doesn't matter what your reason is, as long as you do it full throttle. Bad boy, mow with an attitude.
When you think about it, productivity starts at planting. So it's time to rethink how productive your planter can be. We did with the new Case IH 2000 Series Early Riser Planter. We rethought your row unit, so it's tougher, more accurate. We rethought your meter, took the most precise technology, factory installed it. We rethought every inch of the Case IH Early Riser Planter to make it the most productive planter around. And if you think about it, that's exactly what you want.
Since 1921, we've been supporting rice farmers across America. These are the farmers who own our co-op, who prosper together, striving to do more for their communities, going deeper, working smarter, growing stronger. That's how we make good even better. That good comes from the time and toil they're passing down of a way of life that supports not only their families, but families all over the world, so the world can be served with great food. Riceland. United, we grow.
No matter how you buy ag equipment, Ag Direct can finance it. We're powered by Farm Credit, people who know agriculture. So along with options to purchase, lease, or refinance, Ag Direct offers attractive rates, helpful service, and ag-friendly terms. When you compare the price of iron, be sure to compare your cost of money. Ask for Ag Direct, built for agriculture, powered by Farm Credit.
Welcome back to Arkansas Farm Talk. Producers Rice Mill's in the house today. Okay, Keith, we've talked to NJ, we've talked about a lot of stuff, right? Okay, Keith, what do you see as the market outlook for this crop year?
Well, that's a great question. At Producers, we generally key off of three factors. First being the size of the crop. And we know this year's crop in the U.S. for long grain is going to be down about 16%. So with the smaller crop, that should be very supportive to prices. The second thing we look at is export demand, okay? And as I mentioned earlier, 40% of our rice will be exported. So the demand from the export markets, if it's strong, naturally that's going to support prices. If it's weak, that's going to deflate prices. Fortunately, USDA is projecting our demand will be about the same as last year, and last year was a good export year as far as sales. One thing that's different from last year is back in late July, Iraq purchased 120,000 metric tons of U.S. long grain milled rice.
Wow.
Now that's the first time in 2 years Iraq has come in and bought U.S. long grain milled rice. So that's demand we didn't have last year, and that should be on top of what we sowed as an industry last year. So that's good. And another thing to think about with the lower milling yields, we're going to have to mill more rough rice this year to make the same amount of milled rice. So that is going to work well for price as well. And then the third and final thing is grain prices. And last year, grain prices were strong. In my opinion, that supported rice prices all of last year. We're anticipating them to continue to be strong in 21-22.
Keep your fingers crossed.
And that should support rice prices as well. So
because everything else has went up with it.
That's right. You know? But we're optimistic for U.S. rice prices in 21-22.
That's great. Jay, looking forward, any concerns for farmers for 22 season you see coming up?
Well, we hit on a couple of these earlier, but yeah, the availability of some of our inputs, without going into details, there's some crop protection chemicals that they're very key to our operations that we're told are in short supply. The price of fertilizers, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, they're at record highs right now, prices never before seen. A lot of logistic issues. You've told us a little bit about the problems in the parts and equipment business as far as being able to acquire the things that farmers need for repairs and maintenance of equipment. So there's a lot of decisions going forward, and some tough calls are going to have to be made to address some of these things that we're seeing that we may be dealing with in the next few months.
Yeah, I mean, and we need to stress the issue that if you're thinking about upgrading a piece of equipment, if you're thinking about, hey, I need to rebuild a planter or a drill or something for this coming spring, we need to be acting on it right now. I mean, we've already pre-sold 100 units, big ag units for this next year, okay? So we need to address these things, so we don't want anybody left out and left hurting, you know?
Yeah. We're going to have to be much better businessmen going forward, as far as procuring the things that are key to our operations, 3, 6, 9 months in advance of when we think we're going to need them.
Yeah, we're going to have to start thinking outside the box, looking forward. Okay, Keith, USA Rice Outlook Conference in New Orleans coming up December 5th through the 7th. Tell me real quick about that.
Well, that's a great opportunity for anybody in the rice industry to go and hear about this past year, what the crops were from the various states, what the market outlooks are. Typically, we'll have about 800 people attend that conference year in and year out. The last one was held in Little Rock.
Yeah, we were the lead sponsor. Yep.
In December 2019, and because of COVID last year, we had to pass on the 2020. So it's going to be in New Orleans, as you mentioned, December 5th through 7th this year. And we encourage anybody who's got any interest in rice to attend. I think they'll find it very worthwhile.
Yeah, it's worth going, I promise you.
Yeah.
Producers has a new solar program. Hit on that real quick.
Okay. As we talked at our last show that we were on with you, back in the spring, the Arkansas Public Service Commission approved a 26 megawatt solar farm for producers' rice mills. Since then, we have been interviewing contractors and working with them, trying to come up with a price, and we're getting real close. In fact, at our next board meeting, we're going to present the facts and findings to the board and let them review and make some decision on going forward. But we're very excited about that potential.
Yeah, well, undoubtedly you've got a great board with great vision, because you look at the success Producers has had. Now, somebody wants to reach out to Producers, how do they do that?
Well, we have a website, producersrice.com, and you can go there, and of course you'll see our phone number where you can contact us at Stuttgart or any of our outlying facilities.
Yeah. Okay, and I know Jay Farms, and he's easy to get a hold of. If anybody's got questions or needs help, you know, guys, hey, we will never get everything we want to get across here, but I want to thank both of y'all for everything you do, for all the farmers here in the great state of Arkansas. Producers does a wonderful job. We're very thankful for everything you do.
Thank you, Mike.
We appreciate y'all.
We'll see you next week on Arkansas Farm Talk.
Thank you for watching Arkansas Farm Talk, brought to you by Heritage Agriculture.